Welcome back to Mwaki Insights. Today we're diving into one of the most critical topics of 2024, how China's technological self-reliance, especially in chip lithography machines, is reshaping global power dynamics. But before we jump in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and stay updated with our latest insights on global geopolitics and tech warfare. Let's explore how China is breaking free from Western sanctions and what it means for the future of global tech. Picture this: a world where your phone is dumber than a brick, your laptop gathering dust. No fancy AI, no self-driving cars, just a big fat technological standstill. That's the nightmare scenario if the world runs out of computer chips. And for a while, it looked like that nightmare might become a reality. The world relies heavily on Taiwan and South Korea for these tiny technological marvels. But China, facing sanctions from the United States, was increasingly shut out. The message was clear: we don't want you playing in our technological sandbox. These sanctions aim to limit China's access to advanced chips and the machines that make them. The thinking: keep them a generation behind, reliant on the West. But China wasn't willing to lose this game. Instead, China doubled down, pouring resources into becoming self-sufficient. It was a bold move, a gamble on a massive scale. Building a cutting-edge chip industry from scratch isn't your average weekend project. But China, never one to shy away from a challenge, was determined to prove the doubters wrong. China, faced with these sanctions, did what any self-respecting nation with a point to prove would do: they got to work. And we're not talking about a couple of scientists tinkering in a basement lab. Think national mobilization, billions of dollars in funding, and a laser focus on building a homegrown chip industry. It was like watching a sleeping giant slowly wake up, realizing its own strength. Remember those sanctions meant to keep China a generation behind? Yeah, about that. China, in a move that surprised many, started making serious headway. They began churning out increasingly sophisticated chips, slowly but surely climbing the technological ladder. It was a clear message. China was here to play, and they were playing for keeps. The world watched with a mixture of awe and apprehension. Could China actually pull this off? Were they witnessing the birth of a new tech superpower? One thing was certain: the landscape of global technology was shifting, and China was the tectonic force behind it. Now, let's talk about a little company called SME, short for Shanghai Microelectronics Equipment. In the world of chip making, they were like that scrappy underdog you can't help but root for. Everyone else is focused on one thing: EUV lithography. It's the process by which the most advanced chips are made. But then SMEE threw their hat in the ring. They filed a patent for their own EUV technology. It was a signal that China wasn't content with just catching up. It was about national pride, about proving that China could innovate at the highest level. The underdog was no more. The world of tech had become a high-stakes poker game, and the chips on the table were, well, actual chips. The US, seeing China's rise in the rearview mirror, doubled down on its sanctions. It was like trying to stop a tsunami with a stack of sandbags. Sure, it might slow things down a bit, but the water's still coming. This wasn't just about economics anymore. It was about something much bigger: global power. Whoever controlled the flow of these silicon brains held the keys to the future. Artificial intelligence, supercomputers, hypersonic missiles, they all relied on these tiny marvels. The US and China were locked in a technological arms race, each side pouring billions into research and development. Alliances were forged and broken, all in the pursuit of chip supremacy. The world held its breath, caught in the crossfire of this new kind of Cold War. A new world order in tech. Remember that nightmare scenario of a world starved of chips? Well, China's rise offered a potential alternative, a world with not one but two major players calling the shots. Imagine a world where the tech landscape isn't dominated by a single power, but rather a multipolar system where different nations and companies compete and collaborate. This isn't just some utopian fantasy, it's a real possibility. China's advancements could lead to a more balanced and resilient global tech ecosystem. One where countries have more choices, more leverage, and less dependence on a single supplier. Of course, this new world order wouldn't be without its challenges. Competition could easily spill over into conflict, and the race for technological dominance could have unintended consequences. But one thing's for sure: China's rise is forcing the world to rethink the old rules and imagine a future where power is distributed more evenly. The high stakes of innovation. This isn't just about who gets the fastest phone or the coolest gadget. This is about the future of innovation itself. Will a world with two tech superpowers be a more innovative one? Or will it devolve into a technological Cold War, with each side hoarding its secrets and stifling progress? The answer, like most things in life, is complicated. On the one hand, competition can be a powerful driver of innovation. When companies and countries are locked in a race to be the best, they're more likely to invest heavily in research and development, leading to breakthroughs that benefit everyone. On the other hand, excessive secrecy and distrust can stifle innovation. When information is siloed and collaboration is limited, it becomes harder to build on each other's work and accelerate progress. The challenge for the world will be to find a balance between competition and cooperation, to harness the power of innovation while avoiding the pitfalls of a zero-sum game. The global chip game, winners and losers. So, who are the winners and losers in this global chip game? Well, the obvious winner, at least in the short term, is China. They've proven that they won't be bullied, that they're a force to be reckoned with. But the long-term winners are harder to predict. Countries that embrace this new reality, that are willing to adapt and collaborate, will likely thrive. Think of nations with strong tech sectors like Japan, South Korea, and even some European countries. They have the potential to benefit from increased competition and a more diverse supply chain. But countries that cling to the old order, that try to isolate themselves or stifle competition, will likely fall behind. The US, despite its current dominance, could find itself losing ground if it doesn't adapt to this new reality. The same goes for any country that fails to invest in its own technological capabilities. Here's a scary thought. What if this whole thing backfires? What if, instead of a more interconnected world, we end up with a technological iron curtain? One where the West and China lead separate tech ecosystems, each with its own standards, platforms, and supply chains. Imagine a world where your iPhone doesn't work in China, or where Chinese-made apps are banned in the West. It's a future where the internet, once hailed as a tool for connecting the world, becomes fragmented and balkanized. This scenario, while not inevitable, is a real possibility. As tensions between the US and China continue to rise, the risk of a technological decoupling grows. It would be a tragedy of epic proportions, a giant leap backward for humanity. The world needs to wake up to this danger and work to prevent it. Beyond the chips, a larger technological shift. This isn't just about chips, folks. This is about something much bigger, a fundamental shift in the balance of technological power. For decades, the West, particularly the US, has been the undisputed leader in tech. But China's rise is challenging that dominance, and it's doing so across a broad front. We're talking artificial intelligence, quantum computing, biotechnology, renewable energy. You name it, China is making strides. They're investing heavily in research and development, attracting top talent, and building world-class companies. This shift has profound implications for the future of the global economy, geopolitics, and even our daily lives. It's a wake-up call for the West, a reminder that technological leadership is not a birthright. It's earned through hard work, innovation, and a willingness to adapt. The future is etched in silicon. So, what does the future hold? It's impossible to say for sure, but one thing is clear. The tiny world of semiconductors will play an outsized role in shaping the 21st century. The race for chip supremacy is on, and the stakes have never been higher. Will China succeed in its quest for technological independence? Will the US maintain its dominance? Or will we see a new world order emerge, one where power is more evenly distributed? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, the future is being etched in silicon, one tiny transistor at a time. And it's a future we should all be paying attention to. What this means for you. You might be thinking, okay, John, fascinating stuff about geopolitical chess matches and all, but what does this have to do with me? Well, dear viewer, everything. This isn't just some abstract geopolitical squabble happening in a vacuum. This impacts your life, right here, right now. Remember those supply chain issues that made it impossible to find a PS5? Or the rising cost of, well, everything? Yeah, that's partly because of the global chip shortage, which is directly tied to this technological power struggle. And it's not just about consumer goods either. The cars you drive, the healthcare you receive, the jobs you rely on, all of it is increasingly dependent on these tiny silicon chips. So, the next time you hear about China's chip ambitions or US sanctions, don't just tune it out. Pay attention. Because what happens in the world of semiconductors will ultimately determine the kind of world we all live in. Stay tuned. The story continues. This is where we leave you, dear viewers, on the edge of your seats, hopefully, with more questions than answers. But that's the thing about this story. It's far from over. This is a saga that will continue to unfold for years, if not decades to come. So stay informed, stay curious, and most importantly, stay tuned. Because the future of technology, and indeed the future of the world, depends on it. Thanks for watching. China's breakthrough in homegrown chip lithography machines marks a pivotal moment in the tech war between East and West. The global implications are profound, and we'll be here to keep you updated as the story unfolds. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Stay informed on the biggest developments in global tech and geopolitics with Mwaki Insights. See you next time.